Story 1, the following headlights. I've driven this stretch of highway 1,000 times, but I never realized how truly dark it gets out here until those headlights showed up behind me. They weren't just driving, they felt like they were hunting. And if you've ever been alone on a road like this, you know exactly the kind of cold dread I'm talking about. It was around 2 a.m. I was heading back to my college campus after visiting my parents for the weekend. I was taking Route 9, which is basically 2 lanes of cracked asphalt cutting through miles of dense, unsettling pine forest. It's the kind of area where your radio signal dies and your phone shows no service for an hour straight. I was already on edge, tired and hopped up on lukewarm gas station coffee, just wanting to get back to my dorm room. I first noticed the car about 20 minutes out of the last town. I checked my rearview mirror and saw 2 standard yellow headlights way back in the distance. I didn't think much of it, but 10 minutes later, I checked again, and they were exactly the same distance behind me. I was doing about 60. I sped up to 75 just to put some space between us. A minute later, the headlights were right back in the same spot, maintaining a perfect predatory distance. My stomach dropped a little. You start thinking crazy things out there in the dark. I decided to test it. I eased off the gas and let my car coast down to 50. Sure enough, the car behind me slowed down too. They weren't trying to pass. They were matching me. Panic started to creep in. It was pitch black outside, just my high beams cutting a narrow tunnel through the trees. Suddenly, the cabin of my small sedan lit up blindingly bright. The guy behind me had flicked on his high beams. They flooded my mirrors, making it impossible to see anything. I squinted, cursing under my breath, heart rate picking up. Then they turned off, darkness again. 5 seconds later, click, high beams back on, searing white light, then off. They kept doing it, on, off, on, off. It wasn't random. It felt like a signal, or worse, a taunt. I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Every time the cabin lit up, I felt exposed like a bug under a microscope. What did they want? Was it some psycho playing games before running me off the road? I couldn't take it anymore. The tension was making me nauseous. I saw a gravel pull-off area coming up on the right, usually meant for semi-trucks to check their brakes. It was a stupid move, I know, but fight or flight kicked in, and I just wanted this to end. I hit my blinker and screeched onto the gravel shoulder, sliding a few feet before slamming it into park. I expected the car to fly past me. It didn't. It pulled right in behind me, blocking me from backing out. My breath hitched. It was a beat-up pickup truck. I slapped the lock button on my door, fumbling for my phone, praying for just 1 bar of service. Still nothing. The driver's side door of the truck swung open. A massive guy stepped out. In the red glow of my taillights, he looked terrifying. He was wearing a greasy trucker cap, and I swear to God, he was holding a tire iron. This is it, I thought. I'm going to die on the side of Route 9, and nobody will find me for days. He started sprinting toward my car. I was screaming now, pressing myself against the driver's side door, trying to make myself as small as possible. He reached my window and didn't even hesitate. He swung the tire iron. The glass shattered inward, spraying deeper into the car. He reached in, but he didn't grab me. He grabbed the handle of the back door and ripped it open. "Get out," he roared, his voice shaking. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring into my back seat. He reached in with a speed I didn't think a guy his size was capable of and yanked someone, out of the back of my car onto the gravel. It was a man, a skinny guy all in black, wearing a hoodie. I realized with sickening horror that he had been hiding on the floorboard behind my seat. The trucker had the guy pinned to the ground with a knee on his back, raising the tire iron threateningly. The trucker looked up at me, his face pale and sweating in the dome light. "I saw him," the trucker panted, pointing down at the man squirming in the gravel. "Back at the gas station. When you went inside to pay for your coffee, I saw this creep open your back door and slide under the seat. I've been flashing my lights for 50 miles trying to get you to pull over before he did whatever he was planning to do." We stood there on the side of that dark road until a state trooper finally happened by 20 minutes later. They arrested the guy in the hoodie. They found a roll of duct tape and a hunting knife in his pockets. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. It's not the trucker with the tire iron or even the psycho they arrested. It's the silence. For 50 miles, over an hour of driving, while I was terrified of the lights in my mirror, the real monster was sitting 18 inches behind my head, just breathing quietly in the dark, waiting for the perfect moment. And I never heard a thing. Story 2, the desert shortcut. If you've ever driven through the American Southwest at night, you know there's a specific kind of darkness out there. It's not just an absence of light. It feels heavy, like the miles of empty space are pressing in on your car. I wouldn't be telling you this if I didn't want to warn you. Never trust your GPS blindly when it offers you a shortcut through the desert at 2 in the morning. My name is Mark, and last summer I was driving from Phoenix to Las Vegas for a friend's wedding. I was already running late, having left work hours after I planned. Around midnight, I hit a massive traffic jam on US 93. A semi-truck had jackknifed ahead, closing both lanes. We were parked. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching the red tail lights stretch for miles, tapping my steering wheel anxiously. That's when my phone chimed. Google Maps found a new route. It suggested turning off onto a smaller 2-lane road called County Route 4. It promised to bypass the accident and save me over an hour. I didn't even think about it. I saw an exit ramp just ahead and swerved onto it. At first it was fine. The road was paved, though narrow. The moonlight illuminated the scrub brush and cacti flashing past my windows. I had 0 cell service, but that's normal for the area. The first weird thing happened about 30 minutes in. I realized I hadn't seen another car. Not one set of headlights coming the other way, no red lights ahead of me, just total isolation. Then the pavement ended. It didn't turn to gravel, it just stopped, becoming hard-packed dirt. My sedan jolted violently. I braked, dust billowing up in my headlights. I checked my phone. The GPS still showed a blue line straight ahead, insisting this was the fastest route. I almost turned back right there. I should have turned back, but the thought of that traffic jam made me stubborn. I kept going, driving slower now, the car rattling over washboards in the dirt. An hour passed. According to the map, I should have been reconnecting with the highway by now. But the blue line on my screen seemed to be getting longer, not shorter. That's when I saw the structure ahead. It was a cinder block building sitting alone in the vast emptiness. A single, flickering fluorescent light buzzed over a rusted gas pump. There was no sign, just a building that looked abandoned 20 years ago. My fuel gauge was hovering just above E. I hadn't realized how much gas driving on the dirt had eaten up. I pulled in, my heart hammering against my ribs. The silence when I turned off the engine was deafening. I stepped out. The air smelled metallic like old copper and ozone. I put my card in the pump. Nothing happened. The door to the cinder block building creaked open. A man stepped out. He was impossibly tall and thin, wearing a mechanic's jumpsuit that was 3 sizes too big. His face was slack, like he had no muscle tone beneath the skin. He didn't walk toward me. He sort of shuffled, dragging one foot. "We don't take cards," he said. His voice sounded wet and gurgling, like his throat was full of water. "Cash is fine," I stammered, reaching for my wallet just to get this over with. I handed him a 20. His fingers brushed mine. They were freezing cold, like dead meat. He didn't move to the pump. He just stood there, staring at me with eyes that didn't seem to blink enough. "You're on the loop," he whispered. "What?" I asked, backing away toward my car door. "The loop. Most people don't find the exit." A jolt of pure adrenaline hit me. I didn't even ask for my gas. I dove into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and tore out of there, tires spinning in the dirt. I watched in the rearview mirror as the tall man just stood under the buzzing light, watching me leave. I drove fast, too fast. I felt sick to my stomach. I just wanted to see pavement. I wanted to see another human being. I drove for another 45 minutes, my eyes glued to the horizon. Finally, I saw a light ahead. Relief washed over me so hard my knees shook. Then I got closer. It was a single, flickering fluorescent light, over a rusted pump. My breath caught in my throat. No, that was impossible. I had driven straight. I hadn't made a single turn. I blew past the gas station doing 70 over the dirt. I refused to look at the building, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw the door open. I looked down at my GPS. The screen was just static now. I looked at my odometer. It hadn't moved a single mile since I first turned onto the dirt road 2 hours ago. I don't know how I got out. I just kept driving until the sun came up. When the first gray light of dawn hit the desert, I suddenly recognized the highway just ahead of me. I was miles away from where I should have been. When I finally got service back, I looked up County Route 4. It doesn't exist on any official map. And here's the part that makes me check my backseat every time I get in my car now. When I checked my bank statement the next day, there was no withdrawal for $20. But in my wallet, the $20 bill I handed that man was gone, replaced by an old, rusted metal token with no markings on it. Story 3, the broken down van. I used to think my neighborhood was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. The kind of place where you could leave your front door unlocked and never worry. But after what I saw inside that rusted white van last Thursday, I don't even like sitting near the windows after the sun goes down. If you ever see a vehicle parked on your street that doesn't belong there, please, for your own sake, do not try to be a good Samaritan. My name is Tyler. I live in a quiet suburb outside of Pittsburgh. The kind of neighborhood where the most exciting thing that happens is a dispute over a fence line. I work a late shift at a local data center, usually getting home around 1:00 a.m. Because of my schedule, I'm pretty used to the neighborhood being dead silent when I pull into my driveway. It started on a Tuesday. I was driving home, exhausted and ready for bed, when I noticed a white cargo van parked under a flickering street lamp about 3 houses down from mine. It was an old Ford Economy, the kind with no side windows and patches of rust eating away at the wheel wells. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe a neighbor had a contractor over, or someone was moving. But on Wednesday night, it was still there, exactly in the same spot. It hadn't moved an inch. By Thursday, the summer heat was hitting 90 degrees, even at night. When I got home at my usual time, I saw that the van's hood was slightly propped up, and there was a piece of cardboard taped to the back window with the word help written in shaky, black marker. I sat in my car for a minute looking at it. My gut was telling me to just go inside and lock the door, but my conscience was nagging at me. What if someone was in there? What if they were heat-stroked or having a medical emergency? The street was completely empty, and the silence felt heavy, almost suffocating. I grabbed a flashlight from my glove box and a cold bottle of water from my bag. I figured I would just check if they were okay, and if not, I'd call for a tow truck or an ambulance. As I walked toward the van, the sound of my own footsteps on the pavement seemed incredibly loud. When I got closer, I noticed something weird. Even though the hood was up, there were no tools around. No oil spills. Nothing. The van looked less like it was broken down and more like it was staged to look that way. I reached the back doors and tapped on the metal. "Is anyone in there?" I asked. My voice sounded thin in the night air. There was no answer at first. Then I heard a faint, rhythmic tapping coming from inside. It sounded like someone was hitting the interior wall with a fingernail. Tap, tap, tap. I moved to the driver's side window. It was rolled down just a crack, maybe an inch. I shined my light inside, expecting to see a driver or a cluttered cabin. Instead, the front seats were completely empty. but the dashboard was covered in something that made my blood turn to ice. There were dozens of Polaroid photos taped to the dash and the sun visors. As I leaned in to get a better look, I realized they were all photos of the same thing. They were photos of my front door, my driveway, my living room window. There was even one of me getting out of my car from 2 nights ago. Panic hit me like a physical blow. I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it hurt. I needed to leave. I needed to get to my house and call the police. But as I turned to run, I heard a click. The back doors of the van creaked open. I froze. I should have run, but my curiosity, or maybe just sheer terror, made me look back. A man was sitting in the back of the van, but he wasn't looking at me. He was wearing a headset and staring at a row of 3 small monitors mounted to the wall of the van. I could see the screens from where I was standing. They weren't showing the street. They were live feeds from inside a house. I recognized the floral wallpaper in the hallway. I recognized the messy pile of shoes by the door. He was looking at the inside of my house. On the 3rd screen, I saw my own bedroom. The camera was positioned high up, probably in the smoke detector. And on the screen, I saw a second man. He was standing in the middle of my room, holding a roll of heavy-duty tape and a pair of industrial shears. He looked toward the camera and waved. The man in the van finally turned his head to look at me. He had a wide, empty smile that didn't reach his eyes. He didn't look angry or even surprised that I was there. He just looked satisfied. "He's been waiting for you to come out and help us," the man whispered. His voice was calm, almost bored. I didn't wait for another word. I dropped the water bottle and bolted. I didn't go to my front door. I knew someone was waiting right behind it. I ran as fast as I could toward the main road, screaming for help at the top of my lungs. I saw lights flickering on in my neighbors' houses, and someone eventually opened their door. The police arrived 10 minutes later. By the time they got to the van, it was gone. The street was empty again, just the flickering street lamp and the quiet rustle of the oak trees. When the officers cleared my house, they found my back window had been neatly removed. My smoke detector had been replaced with a high-end wireless camera. They never found the van. They never found the men. The detectives told me that this is a tactic some professional kidnapping rings use. They find a target with a predictable schedule and wait for them to show a moment of weakness or kindness. They create a situation that forces you to investigate. I moved out of that house a week later. I live in a high-rise apartment now with 24-hour security and 3 different locks on my door. But sometimes, when I'm driving home late at night and I see a car parked on the side of the road with its hood up, I don't feel bad for them. I just keep driving, and I don't stop until I'm safe behind my deadbolts. Because the scariest part is the man with the knife in your bedroom. It's the person who spent a week watching you sleep, just waiting for you to be a good person.